allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Selcha? Here. Mr. Lindemann?
Here.
Mr. Ramos?
Here.
Mr. Burry?
Here. Item D, approval of the minutes. Mr. Lindeman.
I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Selchow. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Selcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes. Item E, summary of current events. Ms. Samaniego.
That's me. Just wanted to share that the Ted James Invitational was quite a success this weekend on Saturday. I want to thank everybody that was involved in setup, maintenance, our IT department, our coaches, and all the teams that attended. We also had the De La Vega family that I want to thank. They put on the annual elementary basketball tournament that takes place at Douglas High School. That happened a couple weeks ago, and I believe Stevenson and Clausen elementary students were the winning teams. I'm not sure if it was Clausen girls and Stevenson boys. And Joe Carlson, that's right. And also want to take this opportunity to thank the Carrizosa family who put on the annual Carrizosa Foundation golf tournament this past Saturday as well. And that tournament provides scholarships to our seniors. So I attended that on Saturday too. And so it was a marathon of Saturday activities for the district. And wanted to congratulate the softball girls for their Agua Fria tournament win that took place, I believe, last Saturday. So that is what I have for now.
Governing board members, any reports, Mr. Smith? Ms. Salchow?
I read it. I was invited to read at Stevenson yesterday and had a great time and a lot of good energy there.
Mr. Lindeman?
I had the opportunity to read at Stevenson too, one fish, two fish, blue fish, red fish. And it was a tongue twister, but I made it through.
Mr. Ramos?
I was unable to attend.
Do you have any report at all?
No, not.
Mr. Brain, I have one more
Go ahead.
thing that I want to add. Just for public information, community staff and the board. Clausen Elementary will be having a drill, a evacuation drill and reunification plan that we are going to do this week. I'm not going to tell you what day it is, but it is being planned. Clausen Elementary staff, and the only purpose of this is to practice the evacuation drill from that location to an unknown location right now. And our plan is to work out the details for a reunification, which all it means is pickup of the children from the parents. So that is a plan in place. It's a practice drill. Nobody's in danger, but we have law enforcement participating. We have our DUSD staff participating, and we have a plan for that. So wanted to let you all know.
I'm glad to hear that.
And that's all, Mr. Brain.
School activity report, Alejandro?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Samaniego, and members of the public. The activity report at DHS and DUSD schools for the month of March is as follows. School highlights. We've got great news to share about our students and staff at DHS. Samantha Taylor and Diego Ramirez placed third at regionals for film and TV. Congratulations to Mrs. Vallardos, as she was selected as the Teacher of the Year for Douglas High School, and Mr. Luis Rivera was selected as the new Teacher of the Year, and they will represent DUSD in the Cochise County Teacher of the Year banquet. Congratulations to the Bulldog softball team, as they were tournament champions at the Agua Fria softball tournament. What's going on in our district? Spring break is March 13th through the 17th. DHS activities and events. March 7th, SALC members visit elementary schools for Reading Week. March 10th and 11th, the Douglas Annual Softball Tournament. March 20th to the 22nd is the Education Rising State Conference. March 21st and 22nd, ACT testing for juniors. March 21st is a PTSO meeting. Week of March 27th, AZ Psi testing. March 27th to the 29th, FCCLA State Conference, and March 29th to the 31st host a state conference. Ray Brain Middle School, spaghetti dinner and movie night on Wednesday, March 8th, starting at 4 p.m. To-go plates are available $6 a plate. Come and support our Ray Brain Middle School PTSO ELD Parent Night on Tuesday, March 7th at 5 p.m. Paul Huber Middle School AZ Psi testing March 27th through the 29th. PTSO meeting March 27th at 5:30 p.m. Clausen, congratulations to our Panther girls for winning first place in the annual Irma de la Vega tournament. Thank you to all our readers from the community who have come to share your love of reading with our students, including Mayor Hewish and Mr. Duarte, the Cat in the Hat. Our PTSO would like to invite the community to join us on March 25th for our spring concert and truck car show at Clausen from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Stevenson, thank you to our special guest readers from the community, district, and school board for reading to our students during Dr. Seuss Week. Our spring scholastic book fair will be from March 20th to the 24th. Our next PTSO meeting will be held on Thursday, March 30th. Joe Carlson, congratulations to the boys for winning first place in the annual elementary basketball tournament. Our girls and boys team both represented our school well. Thank you to Mr. Jesus Duarte for visiting our school as Cat in the Hat to help us celebrate Love of Reading Month. Our awards assembly for quarter 3 will be Friday, March 31st. Sarah Marley, our spring book fair will start on Monday, March 20th and will run for 2 weeks. Mrs. Mendoza helped our school raise $2,520 for the American Heart Association. Congratulations to Ms. Perla Vasquez, who was selected as Sarah Marley Teacher of the Year. And fairs, our school raised $806 for the American Heart Association. Thank you, Mrs. Hughes. Congratulations to Scarlett Diaz, Luisana Gaxiola, and Gustavo Valencia as our top 3 American Heart Association fundraising students. Thank you to our teachers and community members for reading to our students during Dr. Seuss Week. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
I think
Mr.
we need to make Mr. Duarte our official Dr. Seuss reading of Cat in the Hat, as he visited several of our schools.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and board members. You have the month of February balance report. As you can see, there's still a lot of balances there that haven't been encumbered. I'm hoping that by next month we can see a different number there, because as you know, we're trying to do the one-time payment and the decompression this coming pay period on the 17th, and probably that's going to encumber all of the money that we need to encumber. Besides that, everything looks good, unless you have specific questions.
The balances you're showing there do show the encumbrances.
They don't, because these are for the month of February. So I'm hoping that for the next board meeting, we're going to have that encumbered already, because we're trying to do the payouts this coming pay period on the 17th.
Anything else interesting that you want to report to the board regarding any funding or potential legislative action, or anything you know about the percentages per pupil, anything?
Yeah, there's some projected numbers at this point that ASBO is providing. Again, these are just projections. We're still waiting for the final word from the state. They're projecting an increase of $95.51 to the base level, so that means per student. Last year was a lot more than that, but remember there was an exception because there was more money available that they give to the schools. Now it's just
What was that amount, Mr. Soto, last year? 300?
so we have the
300
300 and
and some dollars.
$327 around that.
Last year.
Mhm.
Last year.
Now the projection is, again, the inflation, the max we can get is only 2%, so that's what they're saying is probably just going to be $95.51, which for us, again, depending on the enrollment, as you know, we're facing some kind of decline, and that's why the purpose of having the budget revision also this month. But I'm projecting new monies of $450,000 for next school year. So again, these are just projections. This is not hearing from the legislature at this point yet, but also they talk about the minimum wage. They're projecting a minimum wage of $14.40, I believe, right, Sonia? And if you remember, we had some talks in the past about the state going to the $15 an hour. potentially for January. But again, the projection is only saying $14.40. I don't know if they're gonna go back and retake that conversation about the $15 an hour. So we're gonna have to wait on that too, but for now, the projection it will be $14.40. Again, once I have solid and concrete numbers, I'll come back and share with you guys what the legislature is looking at this point.
Okay, we may come back, we definitely will be back on an item further down the agenda regarding
Yes.
the finances, but members of the board, do you have any questions or comments regarding that?
I
Go ahead,
just,
Ms.
this probably won't pertain to Caesar, because he just handles the numbers, but, Mr. Scott, maybe you can answer, the decline we have in students, do you have any idea as to why is it normal, the decline in students that we're having? Or is it something just, that's happening right now?
Do you want me, what I noticed so far is a lot of families moving out. That's what the main reason, when we get the report from the New Student Center, it's just family moving out, waiting for records requests from a different district. That's the main thing that we've seen. It's just out of town, not going to the local charter schools or anything, it's just families moving out.
And I will add that obviously the impact that the pandemic has definitely affected. So some of those losses were due to that. And every district superintendent that I've spoken to that has had some student loss, it'll take a couple years to recoup if those kids, do come back and or families that do move back. So that was another factor.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, members of the board, regarding the budget or travel? Mrs. Cox?
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. President. So as Mr. Ramos just stated, we have a decrease in student enrollment. We are currently at 3,785, but we are seeing students move out, and then we do enroll students. So we're seeing that. We have our kinder registration ongoing right now. We also have our annual registration. And so currently in the district, we have 867 outstanding annual registrations. So we're working on that really hard to see if we can get that done before the end of the school year. So we're working on that. And then we had a job fair last Friday on March 3rd, and we only had about 20 people who attended. We did have on-site interviews, and so we plan on having another one in early April. So contracts should be coming out in a couple of weeks.
Members of the board?
Denise, will you be recruiting? Will you be going to job fairs outside of Douglas?
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments regarding that report? Item 2, consent agenda items. Approval of the following consent agenda items. 1, payroll and expense voucher reports as listed. 1, 2, 3. Ms. Salchow, will you make that motion?
Excuse me. For the consent? Okay, sorry. I move that we approve the following consent agenda items. Payroll and expense vouchers.
Okay, is there a second?
A
Second.
Second by Mr. Lindeman. All right, any questions or discussion
Mr.
regarding
Smith?
that? Roll call.
Mr. Smith.
You're the arbiter, right?
Mr. Smith.
What, Mr.
Mr. Smith.
No, it's important because, 25 years from now, people want to know you were on the board. They're going to be looking at the minutes, and as I've said so many times, the routine just matters that we try to expedite it by having Mr. Lindeman, because he's such a good, he did the same thing for me at the city, actually. But anyway, he made the motion, but anyway. No, that's fine.
Alma has it on record.
No more blathering. Go ahead, Mr. He got it on record? All right.
Okay.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Elcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Perrin?
Yes. Item 3, discussion action on the approval of certified hires. Mrs. Salchow, will you make that one?
Hold on, Mr.
Yes.
Bahrain. If I may, I need to pull an item from the action item agenda due to some latest unforeseen circumstances, and that is item O, please. We are removing it from the agenda.
Yeah, we should do that at the beginning, but that's
Yes,
fine.
okay.
That's fine. Item O, okay,
Okay.
so we're going to remove that from the agenda unless I hear any objection from the board. Okay, so it's removed. All right. Okay, now we'll move on to item 3. Ms. Salchow, you were making a motion.
I move we approve the certified hires.
Is there a
As listed.
second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ramos. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Delcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burring?
Yes, item B, action on the approval of classified hires. Mr. Lindeman.
I would make a motion to approve the classified hires as listed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ramos. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Delcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burring?
Yes, item C, discussion action on the approval of certified retirements. Mr. Lindeman.
I move to approve the certified retirements.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Salchow. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Delcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burring?
Yes, item D, discussion action on the approval of classified resignation. Mr. Lindeman.
I move to approve the classified resignations.
Second
Second.
by Ms. Salchow.
And
Dis-
Ms.
Discussion?
Okay, I'll go after. None. None.
You sure?
Yes. After your vote.
We didn't want to stifle you
No.
because of all that conversation we had a minute ago. Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Delcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burring?
Yes, item E, discussion action on the approval of classified transfer. Hear a motion? Mr. Lindeman.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Salchow. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Delcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burring?
Yes, item F, discussion action on the approval of professional development for Stevens certified staff. Let's get a motion on the floor.
I move to approve the professional development as listed.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Ramos.
And Board, if
Go
I
ahead.
may add, on the list submitted by Stevenson Elementary Principal, you have the list of teachers. He did miss one teacher that I want to add as part of your motion, and that's Ms. Joni Duarte. That was omitted from the list. And that was professional development that took place at Stevenson, and it's being funded out of the results-based funding.
Did you say that took place?
Yes, so it is a ratification, right? It's ratification,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. We have a motion on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Delcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burring?
Yes. Item G, discussion action on the approval of volunteers. Get a motion on the floor, Mr. Lindeman.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Salchow. Any discussion? You all saw all the good background information that was given there, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any discussion, any further discussion, anything you want to add?
No.
Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Delcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burring?
Yes, item H, discussion action on the approval of donations received for Douglas Unified School District number 27. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
By Mr. Lindeman, second.
Second.
By Ms. Salchow. Discussion. Anything you want to clarify or add or by way
none.
of explanation?
No. I think all the background was there.
It's interesting, on that second bullet point where you say donation of 138 books, parenthetically, you say age appropriate for Douglas Unified School District preschool students. You may have to be doing that a lot if those bills get through the legislature.
Yes.
Crazy.
I don't know if you people are following that bill, but the things that they're going to be asking teachers to do, but the saving grace may be that there's somebody sitting in that ninth floor in that tower over there that might veto all those things. But anyway, for the schools, anyway. All right, we have a motion on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Elcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Bereen?
Yes. Item I, discussion action on the approval of certified staff contract renewals for the 2023-24 school years. Get a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I move to approve the contract renewals for 23-24.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Ramos. We want to always make sure that when these contracts are approved, that to get the motion going and the wheels turning, that staff always needs a number that they work with, right? In preparing them for distribution. We gave the teachers last year 3%, correct? And you probably had in your mind, unless something comes up that negates it, that you were gonna reissue them for the 3%, and then as we looked at the budget, and that's why I said we're gonna come back and discuss it, and we find later that there's more funds that we would have to go back and then do all of the housekeeping again, and going through all of that executive and clerical work to do that. I'm gonna suggest, and I think that the board, knowing the philosophy, and it's something that we're working on and something that we're trying to do, and we're gonna be constant. I'm gonna recommend that, and we'll get into the conversation, that we go 5% for the teachers now, and we issue those contracts at 5%. And of course, that's gonna be with the understanding that the discussions I've had with Mr. Soto, and then of course with the superintendent, that they'll put their imprimatur on it now, that we do issue them to that, with that number on it for 5% for all teachers, right, all certified staff, with the exception of administrators, and we come back later and address that. If there's a change in the funding, and I know we're gonna do a budget revision, right?
Correct. For
And,
this year.
and then after looking at all of the encumbrances and everything that you have to consider when you get those numbers, we would like to say, if it's okay with the administration and the superintendent, that I would like to recommend to the board that we also look at a possible addition to that, even if it's not this year, it could be next year, and say in October. Could you look, are you following me, Mr. Soto?
Kind of, yeah.
Well, you better, because if the board votes to do it.
Not what we were planning on, but yeah, sure. Because we were talking about the 3% for sure.
The what
The
percent?
3%
The three,
for sure.
but can you work the numbers for
Yeah,
five?
yeah, definitely gonna do some projections. Like I said, I mean, right now we have some projected allocations from the state, which is not the same as last year. But I typically do different scenarios on different percentages. I mean, I'm definitely gonna run 3%, 4%, and 5% and see what that represents. And then again, I know we're gonna have a special board meeting where we're gonna issue the contracts, and then you guys can make a decision on the percentage.
Yeah, but I want to include it as a matter of record, and that the board be on record.
Correct.
That if there's any additional funding, and now, and of course, the reason that we're talking about what we're talking about now is so that there's no cumbersome procedure that we go through later, and we have to come back and revise a contract or issue it. So you're gonna work 5%.
Yes.
And then, but on top of that, I'm saying, and I think the board is listening very carefully, that if it's possible, if there's an additional funding after the dust settles.
Correct.
And all the things that you're involved in, that before the end of the year or next year, if there's funds available, we can come back like we did this year when we did the decompression and we did the
be ready.
one-time payment. All right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at. Board members, if that's okay with you?
May I offer an addendum then to my motion?
Well, I think.
So I want clarification before there's an addenda. Are we, because I was presenting the names of certified staff, teachers and counselors that will be getting a contract. Is the motion to include a 5%, because that was not, or are we bringing that back as, for?
Well, unless Mr. Soto That's why I said I
Just
want him
because-
to work the numbers, and then I want him to
Yes,
run
so-
it by you.
Exactly. Okay.
Unless he says, yeah, go ahead and do it now, then I'd be more than happy to entertain that motion and have it happen. But would you want time to do that, and then
Yeah.
say in the
Yes,
very near
please.
future, we have another meeting to put that in concrete, right?
Correct.
That it's 5% with the understanding that if there's any other money down the road, we're gonna do that as well. All right?
Correct.
Now, we have to keep in mind that when we do something like this, we're always looking at the same, it all comes out of the same pocket, right? So we'll be looking at administrators, directors, we'll be looking at classified, all ancillary services to the district. So when he runs those numbers, then whatever's left, and we say we go with it, then we have to come back and then we have to look at the other salary schedules and then whether or not we're going to be looking at the increase in classified on the,
Correct.
on the
The
hourly
minimum wage.
wage. So all of that has to come into play, all right? So rather than to include that in the motion now, in all fairness to them,
Please.
and this isn't anything new to them because they know we've been discussing it with him. So you do that, and then as soon as you know and you feel comfortable, and this board always has to be fiscally responsibility to the patrons of the district, right? So if we can comfortably do that and then run some on the administrators and the classified, you come back and tell us, all right?
Perfect.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor for all of the people that are going to be issued a contract only,
Yes.
okay, with the idea that we're gonna do 5%, all right? So is there any discussion, members? Mr. Smith?
Was it 5% or 3% that we're going to do now?
None.
Oh,
The district gave the certified staff last year, we gave them 3%. We gave the administrators, the principals, 4%. They are always accustomed, before the budget is settled, especially when you go through a revision, and then you look at what's all of the variables that are happening at the state level, you don't know exactly what your funding is gonna be. So what we're asking them to do, they recommend that we issue them at 3, and then when they find out what the numbers are, then we come back, but then we have to change the contract. So what I'm saying is to eliminate all of that cumbersome clerical work, that we tell them to work on 5, so we don't have to do that. And if they're comfortable with it, and they come back and they recommend it, we more than willing, I think we'll pass it, okay?
Okay.
All right?
So right now, you're just, the motion would be to
Approve the
approve the
issue.
list for a contract.
To these people with no increase.
Okay.
There's no
It's
number
just
on it.
okay.
All right, Ms. Salcha, do you have any discussion?
No.
Are you okay with that? Mr. Lindemann?
Yep, that's good.
Mr. Ramos?
No, fine.
Fine? All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Do you want to react to anything that I said?
No, that's fine. I'll just need to work the numbers. You know my reaction already, so I just need time to run the numbers and give you the different scenarios, and then you guys.
See,
can-
the things have changed in the last few years. It used to be that the administration would come in, not this one, and they wouldn't say anything. There wouldn't be any inference at all about what was gonna happen for salaries. That's why when she was a classroom teacher and she was a classroom teacher, they didn't get a raise for years.
Several years.
We decided a long time ago that we're going to, we can't cure all of the past ills that happened in the district, but we can sure try and make up for it, Mr. Smith, just for clarifying. That we've got a philosophy, and they know it, that if the money's available, the teachers and the staff are gonna get it, okay? All right?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Do you have anything else you want?
No.
Yes? Are you objecting to that? Well, you're shaking your head no. Yes,
Your
please.
microphone.
Your
Oh.
mic, you need,
It wasn't on?
no, it was, but you were speaking away from it, so I moved
Oh,
it.
okay.
Now we can hear you.
Nobody cares what I said anyway, it doesn't make any difference, it's on the record. All right,
Okay.
anything further? Do you want to react, Mr. Soto?
No, like I said, I just need time to run the numbers and.
Are you okay with it?
Yes, I'm okay with that, and we'll work on that and bring that back
Roll call.
as recommendations.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Salcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes,
Mr. Ramos?
Yes,
Mr. Burry?
Yes, item J, discussion action on the approval of the revised district annual expenditure budget for the fiscal year 2022, 2023. Mr. Soto.
Okay, we've been talking about the budget, so here's another one. The last time we did a revision was in December, and yet again, it was because of the decline in enrollment. Again, we have to do another revision now, again, mainly because of the decline in enrollment. Just so you have an idea, up to this point, we have lost around 80 kids from when we adopted the budget until now. So it was kind of like 40 in December and then 40 now. But on the positive side is that we gain kids on the weighted count on the add-ons. And I'm talking about special ed, ELL, and all of those. So we gain kids and some budget capacity on that area. So to make story short, the budget needs to be revised, and there was a gain compared to the last revision we did in December. Because of that, basically the major thing was the add-ons. Then the state started giving us money for the AOI, the online instruction, and little things like that. So overall, the budget it changed around 295,000 positive. So again, these things happens, and I wish that we can have a different system where it can be done at the beginning of the year, and then we don't have to be dealing with all of these variables and stuff. But again, most likely, then we're going to have another revision before the end of the school year, so we can capture the new contracts, the new decompression, and the one-time payment, and all of that stuff. But that's probably going to happen, I'm thinking May, probably, and then bring back to you guys for approval. Do you have a specific question in regards of the revision?
Members of the board, any questions regarding the revision? Sonia?
I was just going to say,
She say we have money. Don't let her talk.
Sonia, any additional comments on all the work done?
Pretty much covered it.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to thank you, Sonia, for working on the budget along with Mr. Soto.
Thank you.
Ms. Samaniego, do you have anything regarding that revision? Or
No, so it's on
budget?
on the positive end and always looking at staying that way. And so had this been done before the payout, we would have encumbered that, but we will bring that last budget revision.
Well, that's why I asked him earlier, did he you hadn't encumbered that yet?
No.
Not in this.
No, because
it's
we haven't paid it out
Yeah.
yet. So once we make those payments and the changes on the contracts, on the teachers' contracts, then that amount gets encumbered on the system.
Oh, in the.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know kind of roughly how much we're gonna
Yeah.
spend, it's just it hasn't been encumbered on the system.
Okay. We need a motion, right?
Yes, sir.
I'll entertain a
Move to
motion.
approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Ramos, and that moves to approve the revised budget. Any further discussion? Any questions, comments? Anything else you want to add? Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Salcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes. Item K, discussion action on the approval for renewal of the memorandum of agreement for program services for practice teaching placement between Western New Mexico University and Douglas Unified School District Number 27. Entertain a motion to do
I
that.
move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Selchow. I have a question before you get into that. How many students do you actually get from them?
Maybe about 3 or 4 in the last couple of years. Not
Do you?
many, yes. Mhm.
And them being out of state, they still, they accept the student teaching here, over there? Oh, obviously, they would, right?
Because
That's a
many
stu-
of those students are Douglas residents.
Oh, okay. All right. Any further discussion? Anything you want to add?
No.
Anything else you want to add, Ms. Cox? Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Salcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes, item L, discussion action on the approval of out-of-state travel for ASBO Spring Conference. Motion on the floor for
I
discussion.
move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Salchow. Any discussion?
Mr. President, I was just wondering if who is actually going to these things and what's?
It's in the backup, I think.
Yes, it's in your background, and it's Ms. Norma Nato from Business Office, Francisco Ruiz, Maintenance Supervisor, Marco Durazo, Information Technology, and Mr. Soto, the Seafood.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you want to add anything?
This is basically the, ASBO puts on 2 conferences, and so this one, the reason these 4 individuals are going is because the items or the topics being discussed pertain to their departments. There was other transportation sessions that are important, but Mr. Rodriguez could not attend.
And he has the summer conference
And he
in
has a
June
summer
anyways.
conference that he's going to be attending, so it is the 4 of them.
Where is it taking place, in Laughlin?
Laughlin.
And Laughlin is considered
Yeah.
a
In-state.
in-state procurement for, anything expenditures, but because it's in Nevada, I wanted to bring it to the board and have you approve
Same
their
as
travel.
Vegas, just saying.
Is all that money you put in the slot machines up there, does that come back to the state?
Not a single penny.
He's a resident
Yes,
up here.
yes, he is. He has a special room.
So, how does the state manual treat that? Do they treat that as in-state?
It was an
travel?
in-state, yeah. The per diem and everything it's listed there.
New Mexico and.
I think
And Las
some
Vegas. Some
cities
places
in New
in-
Mexico too.
Okay,
yeah.
we have a motion on the floor?
Yes, sir.
Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Alcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes,
Mr. Green?
Yes, item M, discussion action on the approval of out-of-state travel for Tyler Visions Conference. Motion on the floor.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Ramos. Ms. Samaniego.
And this is, Mr. Soto is recommending Norma Nato from Business Office. She's the only one traveling, and she needs all the information for, all the visions updates that happen, and she's the only one traveling.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say the Vision is the software we use for accounting and all of that stuff, so it's
Yeah, but-
important to get those updates and,
I was just gonna ask on that you're using it now, right?
Correct.
All right. So
Correct.
she's just going to go into,
Get all the new
Yeah.
information.
that was my question that I was gonna make.
Ms. Salchow.
Will Norma be giving training regarding this when she does come back?
right, mainly here at the district office for payroll, HR, and whatever classes she can attend, yeah, definitely. That's the intention.
She's the only one going?
Yeah, because of the cost. I mean, this is in San Antonio and it's, flights and hotels and all that, so.
He's concerned about the cost?
Well, you want 5% for the teachers, so we have to save on travel.
Don't talk too much, you make a lot of enemies. All right, so we have a motion on the floor, right? And any further discussion?
No.
Sonia, did you have anything you wanted to say to kind of negate what he said about the employee? Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Alcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes,
Mr. Breen?
Yes, item N, discussion action on the approval of the Exceptional Student Services Procedure Manual. Motion?
Move to approve.
By Mr. Lindeman. Second by Ms. Salchow. Ms. Samaniego.
Yes, this is submitted by Mrs. Walker, and the Arizona Department of Ed mandates that DUSD have a procedural manual for ESS services, and so the document and the manual is part of your board agenda. It has all the information from initial child find to 45-day screening to reevaluation, IEP, all of our procedures for ESS on this manual. And I want to thank Mrs. Walker for working on this with her staff. Mrs. Walker, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Did you have anything to add, Ms. Walker? Did, they had to do that with, so it'd be particular to Douglas? From,
Yes.
yeah, why don't you come up and
Yes, she didn't cover it.
Mr. Brain, members of the board, district administration. Yes, IDEA requires that there's board-adopted procedures or policies that are individualized to the district, and unfortunately, when we were looking through things, we only had the ASBA stuff board adopted, so there was a procedural manual in the past. I couldn't find any record that it had ever been board adopted. It's 400 and some pages long, so I condensed it down to the stuff that I think staff really will look at and use, so.
That's an exceptional piece of work, I mean, because it had to be particular to Douglas. And
Yes.
so your staff and members of your staff worked
Yes.
on that?
I worked on it and I got input from staff, yes.
Well, that's very good, and that's a very important aspect of, and funding is dependent, some of the funding
Yes.
dependent on it as well.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Kate. Any questions? Did you want to ask Ms. Malcolm?
She answered them.
Roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Elcha?
Yes.
Mr. Lindemann?
Yes.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Burry?
Yes, item O was removed. Item 4, information items, Ms. Samaniego.
Yes, and before we get to that, I do want to recognize one employee that is here that was recommended for hire.
Salmon.
Do you want to come up and introduce yourself and tell us what position in school you're going to be at?
Hi, my name is Ron Salmon. I guess I'm going to security.
You guess.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope you.
Where, I don't know. I just put it that
Okay.
way.
All right, well, welcome to DUSD.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Is that the new uniform we're using now?
Is that the new uniform? That's the one he's leaving behind.
Oh, the one he's leaving behind, all right.
Yes.
Good.
And I also want to recognize, the board just approved the retirement of Belinda Smith and Hector Cañas, and I want to recognize Mr. Cañas, Luis Cañas, who's here, and, look, Hector, why are you calling him Luis? That's a brother. So Hector Cañas, I want to thank you for your years of service. I do believe he wants to continue working under retire, rehire program, but I think it was appropriate to recognize him for the many years he has provided instruction to our students. So thank you, Mr. Cañas.
Very good. That calls to mind, we had an employee that retired that served over 30 years in the district, and I think she should have gotten a special recognition here if it's special. But just to have the board recognize and express appreciation, and that's to Mene. And Mene left, and I don't think anybody did, we didn't have the privilege of seeing her here. She used to come to the meetings, and she would give us that very important information. But Mene had a very important job, and she did it so well. And I know Caesar appreciated it, especially because she was so accurate, and that's where the funding comes from and all. So if we could do something, just to have Mene come and recognize her, I think that would be a good gesture on the board's part.
Yes.
All right.
So my announcements, spring break, if you can believe it, you will see a lot of kids running around the town next week. Don't go to McDonald's, don't go to Walmart late in the afternoons. This Friday is early release for teachers have an opportunity to grade. Our next regular board meeting is on April 4th, and just a reminder of our Clausen evacuation and reunification drill that will take place sometime this week.
How long is that spring break?
1 week.
1 week?
Yes.
What do you think of all that loss of class time, Mr. Holman?
I think it should be doubled.
Just kidding. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to
By
adjourn.
Mr. Lindeman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ramos. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.